Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Newsroom. I'm your host, Khalid. But today is the 28th of November 2023, and these are the stories that we will be highlighting during the course of the show. We'll begin with our caretaker Prime Minister Anwar Kakar visit to the United Arab Emirates and now to Kuwait. Now, the caretaker Prime Minister met with the President of the UAE, His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, yesterday. Both signed memorandum of understanding on investment cooperation in the fields of energy, port operations projects, wastewater treatment, food security, logistics, minerals, and banking and financial services. The UAE is going to invest around 20 to 25 billion US dollars in Pakistan. The investment will also help fulfill various initiatives under the Special Investment Facilitation Council, otherwise known as the SIFC. And now our caretaker Prime Minister is on his way to Kuwait, and of course we'll be highlighting all the important events that will be happening in Kuwait as and when they happen. This is going to be our first segment, the collaboration, cooperation, brotherly relations between the UAE and Pakistan and Kuwait and Pakistan. Our second story, ladies and gentlemen, concerns the Palestine-Israel conflict, genocide that is perpetrating on the Palestinians. The fact is that for some days this genocide has taken a small pause, and this pause has been extended for 48 hours. There was this deal in the beginning had been mediated by Qatar, and now both sides have agreed for a 48-hour extended truce. What happens after those 48 hours? We all know what is happening in the West Bank. We all know what the intentions of Israel is. There is a lot of pressure also from the Western countries on Israel, including the United States of America, and on from the other important Middle Eastern countries to find a long-term solution to this issue, whether it be in the form of ceasefire and then the two-state solution, or an implementation of a deal that could help both the sides, especially the Palestinians, because of the number of casualties that has surpassed 15,000, including 6,000 plus children. This is going to be our second segment. Then we are going to talk about Pakistan, that has been ranked the cheapest country in the world as far as a latest report that has emanated on a website called World Statistics. Pakistan has been declared, as per this report, as the cheapest country in the world. Well, then it must have more and more tourists coming, because we've lots to showcase the world. And finally, we are going to talk about the KSE 100 index that has crossed the index of 60,000, the first for Pakistan again, and the trend is on the upwards as far as Pakistan's market is concerned, which shows an investor confidence, a market confidence also in Pakistan's economic policies and the way Pakistan has been conducting its operations, or whether it be with the IMF or generally on the economic front. This is going to be our last story. Let's begin with our first, and that concerns the Prime Minister, our caretaker Prime Minister Anwar Kakar's visit to the UAE, a very successful one, and now to Kuwait. Both the countries are extremely important for Pakistan. Both the countries have been there for Pakistan in the good and the bad times, and both the countries have had resolve this time also to help Pakistan to collaborate with Pakistan to further strengthen Pakistan's economy. We've been joined by Faheem Sardar, Senior Policy Specialist, in the studios to talk more about that. Faheem, thank you very much to have joined us. Faheem, let's begin with the UAE, the different MOUs that have been signed in the sectors that I have kind of highlighted in the very beginning of the show. How important are these MOUs, and how do you translate those MOUs into further action?
Thank you. Those MOUs are basically a government-to-government understanding of how Pakistan would like to have investments coming into Pakistan. The UAE, as we know, is obviously interested in new acquisitions, or let's say new investment avenues throughout the world. However, Pakistan has been on the back burner for some time for many countries, but now we're trying to restart, re-emphasize ourselves, rightly so. When we when we want, for example, foreigners or the UAE and Saudi in particular to come into Pakistan, we want them to come into the specific sectors that you mentioned, because those sectors are important for Pakistan and they're easy to facilitate. Why? Because we have a vast resource that needs to be tapped. What we have to bear in mind is that many of the investments that we are looking towards are going to bear fruit in the medium to long term, not the immediate. Those projects.
When you say medium to long term, what is the exact time frame that you're looking at?
I think it will take minimum 3 years.
All right. So by that time, a new government would be in place.
Yeah. So the point is, those things may take time, but they're usually larger in size. They're larger in returns. And of course, since they take longer time, you need larger investors to come in. So that's why Pakistan is focusing on the friendly nations of UAE, Saudi, and other countries. With specific reference to the UAE, Pakistan already has a very deep business relationship with the UAE, and this will be an expansion of the existing infrastructure that we already have. Yes, we are venturing into certain new territories like mining. Mining is something very different because we've had.
How lucrative is the mining sector?
It is quite lucrative because of what we have on offer. We have gold and copper on offer. That, I mean, it basically gold trumps every situation. So we have, and we're just talking about one block, if I'm not mistaken. So there's a lot more that we can look at. But for that, you need heavy investments. For that, you need a lot of capital to flow in because...
Is the UAE ready to invest that much?
I think that they will be. That's why our Prime Minister is there. However, since investments require a lot of care.
All right.
You cannot just have, as you said in your question, an MOU is the starting point. So when you have an MOU, then it has to be followed up on a joint monitoring basis. Once that is done, that opens up the door to really start to effectuate things on the ground. The MOU is the starting point.
All right. Well, starting from the starting point, and let's look at the MOUs, and you talked about mining, but there's also energy, port operations projects, wastewater treatment, food security, logistics, banking and financial services. Which are the sectors do you feel are a priority for Pakistan?
I think all of them. But if we take an ultra priority in this group, I think we definitely will be focusing actually on food security, logistics, waste treatment, and financial services. Why? Because they will become a priority because of the population bulge that we have. And secondly, because frankly speaking, they will be far easier to implement rather than mining. Mining is going to take some time. And mining is going to take a lot of machine.
So which sector is the quickest to be implemented upon?
I think, to be honest, it's a little tricky to say that. Mining will take time. That's understood.
I understand.
But the waste treatment can be done quickly. Logistics, that would be, I think, at par with the waste treatment. And I think financial services might be the fastest.
What about energy?
It's going to take time.
Why so?
Because the investment that we need in energy is basically for modernization of our transmission as well as of certain of our GENCOs.
Okay.
And that itself is a very long drawn out process because we have to bear in mind Pakistan is a huge country. And when we sometimes I think in our conversations, I have noticed that we sort of don't scale the things appropriately. And the UAE is not that big in size. Pakistan is like 250 million people. We have such a differential in terrain because we Pakistanis even forget how is electricity being transmitted in the mountainous regions. It's being done. So a lot of the infrastructure needs to be revitalized, improved, upgraded. Some of the GENCOs need to be changed as well. However, that is going to take time.
All right. Improved agriculture is also something that Pakistan is in need of, and it could also help Pakistan increase its exports to countries such as the UAE or even Kuwait for that matter. How can Pakistan undergo that upgradation as far as its agriculture sector is concerned?
I think putting it very, very briefly, so to speak, land, fertilizers, seed, and targeted precision agriculture. That's what we need. In whichever way it's done, that's a separate issue. What the formula is, we don't know because every terrain is going to be different. But in Pakistan, the more fertile areas are towards the central part of the country. I mean, that's not the only caveat here. You have certain things which will grow in more abundance in the central area of Pakistan because that you need heat for that. But at the end of the day, unless we can improve our seed very quickly, our fertilizer, and our precision agriculture, we will still be facing issues. So once we deal with these three things, we can sort of move forward. And as you have seen, Just to give you a garlic example, Pakistan did introduce its own garlic brand. The seed was very expensive. Now it's become very cheap because of the glut in the market. But at the end of the day, we did push very aggressively towards a heavy import item, which we were trying to substitute. For agriculture, we have to move on all fronts at the same time. You cannot move sequentially or one thing at a time. You have to move at all of these fronts at the same time. But of course, an agriculturalist can give us a better view on that.
Is there a market for Pakistani grain, Pakistani seeds in the Middle Eastern markets?
Well, yes and no. Okay, for example, grains, when we look at grains, I'd like us to just look at what happened when the Ukraine conflict started. The world was absolutely stunned. The conflict in Ukraine took away the bread in Lebanon. So that's how interlinked things are. Right now, we import 3 to 5 million tons of wheat. So first we have to fulfill that requirement. And if we can do that, then we've got some surplus to export. But if we do have surplus, we definitely will have a market. And it's not just the UAE, very frankly. There's going to be Africa, Southeast Asia. I'm talking about the neighboring areas. I'm not even going too far off. Because at the end of the day, supply lines have been altered, which we have to, and I'll say very bluntly, we need to take advantage of it.
Okay. Speaking of taking advantage, we've got 1.8 million diaspora in the UAE as we speak. And at the same time, there's also a huge demand by the Middle Eastern countries, including the UAE, for skilled labor.
Yeah.
What should be Pakistan's priorities as far as training this skilled labor is concerned to have a better market in the UAE and other Middle Eastern markets? And secondly, how important a role can this 1.8 million Pakistani diaspora in the UAE play?
A huge role, because there are many countries on earth, I just mentioned Lebanon. Lebanon is one of them, that relies exclusively on its foreign remittances coming from overseas Lebanese. So for Pakistan, it's very important. And when you have round about just shy of 2 million people in one area, so I mean, you can really galvanize that situation, because we're really touching the tip of the iceberg right now. Let's be very frank. Most of our diaspora are not highly skilled people. They learn some skills over there. When it comes to enriching our people with skills, NAVTEC and the TEFTAs have been working very hard to build things up. And there has been a convergence of efforts. Let's look at one example of Japan. Pakistan has recently, in the past 2 years, increased its highly skilled or semi-skilled labor to Japan in the IT industry. Why? Because Japan has a shortage of approximately 300,000 to 400,000 IT personnel, and they're now willing to take people even with a very basic Japanese language course. So Pakistan has started to unlock that. One of the things that Pakistan needs to do is to basically have a very targeted approach. That what kind of skill do you really need to give people, so that when they go into another country, they are able to
utilize the skill to the maximum
easy.
and also contribute effectively.
Just one more point on that. What Pakistan is actually working on, very frankly, is basically synchronizing what the other country needs through certifications.
All right.
And certification acceptance. For example, if there is a NAVTEC or TEFTA certificate, it has to be acceptable in the target country. So that has to be done through a government-to-government process, which is happening right now.
All right. We've also been joined by Dr. Vaqar Ahmed. He's a senior economist. Dr. Vaqar, thank you very much to have joined us. Dr. Vaqar, we were just discussing in the studios with Faheem Sardar about the importance of NAVTEC and TEFTA and the skill development that is needed by countries such as the Middle East, such as the UAE. What efforts can Pakistan further play in order to expedite these techniques to the skilled workers so that they can be more effective in markets such as the UAE?
Yes, thank you very much for having me. I think I'll take lead from what Mr. Faheem Sardar was just suggesting. I think first and foremost, the syllabus that we currently carry needs to respond to the demand in the GCC and the Gulf countries, including the UAE. So, I think regular market surveys need to be conducted with regards to the demand, specific sectoral demand, which is required in the labor market of UAE and the Gulf. We did conduct some surveys which are now dated, and my suggestion would be to do this every 3 to 5 years, the way, for example, other peer economies like Bangladesh, India, or Sri Lanka do, who export their manpower. The other point is to strive to really reach the higher niche market within the labor segment of the UAE. So currently, Pakistan's unskilled and semi-skilled labor is found in larger quantities in the Gulf countries. I think we need to make an effort to really break into the highly skilled labor market of these countries. And I think the recent initiatives by DG Skills, Ignite, artificial intelligence initiatives, which have been initiated, apart from those which Faheem Saab talked about, I think that is where we need to focus on their high-value skills and can bring in greater remittances for the country.
All right, Dr. Vaqar, also now that our Prime Minister is visiting the state of Kuwait as well for a period of 2 days before he goes for the COP28, the signing of MOUs that is being specified during his visit include that in manpower, IT, mineral exploration and food security, energy and defense. Many of them are common with the MOUs that have been signed in the UAE. What are the requirements of these countries that Pakistan can cater to? Let's talk of mineral exploration, let's talk of food security, and let's talk about energy.
I think one of the things which is common to all three sectors is the regulatory easing which is required. And in most cases, the investors who have come from UAE and other GCC economies, they would really like to see a faster and more expedient regulatory environment so that they can incorporate their work, they can scale up their activities. The other thing which they talk about is the harmonization of business regime across the provinces. So the fact that if they are into agriculture business, you talked about food security. If they are in energy, again, they won't be concentrating their efforts in a single province. They would like to operate in multiple provinces within Pakistan, which is why they require a serious effort by the Council of Common Interest to regulate the business regime across the provinces. Currently, several of the business regulatory requirements differ by province. Then the final point that I can make is the availability of skilled manpower, as we were suggesting in your earlier question as well. There's a serious dearth of highly skilled manpower within Pakistan if one talks about, for example, the energy sector or even the mining sector, which is very capital intensive, but the supervisory level or the project managerial level services which are required, they're really high end. So if we saw these in the case of CPEC projects, that ultimately that high end managerial expertise or engineering services had to be brought in by China from the Chinese state-owned enterprises. So if we can really step up our game and really produce good sector-specific human resource in these sectors which you have named, we won't just be receiving their investment, but we'll also be able to create jobs for our own workers.
Thank you very much, Dr. Vaqar. Dr. Vaqar Ahmed, senior economist, joining us online, discussing the impact of our caretaker Prime Minister Anwar Kakar Saab's visit to the UAE and now to Kuwait. Coming back to the studios, Faheem, Dr. Vaqar alluded to regulation of business regimes. When it comes to the MOUs that have been signed with the UAE, yes, or those that will be signed with the Kuwait, including manpower, IT, mineral exploration, food security, energy and defense, how important is the regulation of business regimes in order to accelerate the whole process once the MOUs are signed?
Extremely important, because everything will go through the regulatory regime. It has to be implemented through the regulatory regime. So the SIFC is there to facilitate and to speed up the whole process. We have a huge system, and sometimes things get stuck or wayward in the system. And every office is trying to do their job. So when we talk about the regulatory regime, we have to bear in mind it's not just the NOCs, it's not just the implementation, the setting up, let's say, of a factory or of a working unit. It is also about the continuity of business, because that is reliant, and I can't stress this enough, on the quick, for example, functionality of the courts. Because there's going to be some kind of a query, some kind of a problem, some kind of a dispute, and it will end up in a court. If things happen quickly, we move forward. On a lesser scale, on a less intense scale, is basically just the regulatory regime itself. A regulatory regime has to facilitate business, and it has to have a self-correcting mechanism within the system, which Pakistan has actually started to do. For example, our financial sector. There's a reason I mentioned that one of the easiest sectors for Pakistan will be the financial sector, because firstly I'm from it, so there's a bit of prejudice there. But to be fair, our financial system is quite well designed, well regulated, and it does have self-correcting mechanisms. You see, we have to be fair. Problems pop up everywhere, but what I'm talking about is the general flow, initiation, start, and the flow of business that we're trying to talk about here. And we're trying to start this, but the regulatory regime has to be in sync with the objectives of the country.
All right.
You cannot have divergent views, it has to converge.
That I think is very important. Another important thing, as we've discussed before, is the continuity of policies once the new government comes into place. Another thing that's very important, and we have also discussed this, but I'd like your point of view as well, now that we see our caretaker Prime Minister visiting two important brotherly countries and lots of MOUs that have already been signed and will be signed, ease of doing business. How can Pakistan facilitate all those who want to come to Pakistan and invest?
We come back to the SIFC, which is basically a supra body above the boards of investments and the Federal Board of Investment. If anybody is interested in investing in Pakistan, they can easily approach the Board of Investment, which will be sent to the SIFC for speeding up of the whole process.
All right.
And if somebody wants to invest, they can go to SIFC, same case, but in reverse. It will then be sent to the boards of investments as and when appropriate. But what we have to bear in mind is a simple process, which is follow-up. We have to follow up, and we have to fix the problem there and then. A lot of the investments do not come in because, as I said, it's a huge system, and sometimes things get stuck somewhere.
All right, thank you very much, Faheem, to have joined us. Faheem Sardar, Senior Policy Specialist, talking to us about our caretaker Prime Minister Anwarullah Kakar's visit to the UAE and now to the brotherly state of Kuwait. Both the visits are very important in the whole context of Pakistan willing and wanting to strengthen the collaboration and cooperation in different fields for which MOUs have been signed in the UAE, and further MOUs will be signed during his two-day visit to the state of Kuwait. And of course, we have also highlighted and tried to allude to the different important measures that need to be taken now that the MOUs will be signed, so that the process could be accelerated and Pakistan could actually go towards the implementation of all the policies that have been undermined under the scope of these MOUs. With that, we come to an end of this first segment. We'll be back after a short break. Stay tuned. Welcome back. You're watching Newsroom, and now we're going to discuss the latest as far as the Israel-Palestine conflict is concerned. This is day 53 of the conflict. The truce that had been maintained for 4 days has now further been extended for a period of 48 hours with the nod from both the sides. How important is the extension of this truce? Will it lead to a longer truce, some kind of a ceasefire, and an agreement of any kind that a lot of countries across the world are looking to between the two warring sides? More than 15,000 people have lost their lives. More than 6,000 children have perished in this conflict since that has begun on the 7th of October. We've been joined by Naveed Aman Khan. He's a senior analyst in the studios. Naveed Saab, thank you very much to have joined us. Naveed Saab, the World Health Organization says that more people could die from disease in Gaza than from bombings if the health system is not repaired. But how can the health system be repaired when most of the hospitals are either non-functional or have been destroyed, when the facilities are not there to help those who are in need, when people are getting one or the other disease because of the situation in the enclave of Gaza. What do you foresee? What should the world do, and what is the role of the other countries that can help?
The most important thing in this situation is not only the truce, but also the ceasefire, the permanent ceasefire. And the Chinese foreign minister will meet tomorrow in UN Security Council.
Because it's heading the UN
yes,
Security Council
yes,
for 1 month.
Meeting. And I think there will be some very, very optimistic breakthrough in that meeting, because China has its own credibility and impact on international politics as well. And China has delivered as far as the role of China or Chinese leadership is concerned regarding Middle Eastern issues. If we consider, if we just have a look on Iran and Saudi Arabia matter, which was met by China. And now I think within these meetings, China will again play a very important role to bring the two countries on a negotiation table and help bring peace.
All right. We've also been joined by Reza Shah. He's an international relations expert. Thank you very much, Reza, to have joined us. Reza, when you talk of negotiations, as Naveed Saab has pointed towards, do you feel negotiations are enough? Do you feel Israel is in a mood for negotiations or a negotiated process, or do you feel the necessary pressure needs to be applied on Israel so that it can or will do the needful?
I would love to agree with the sentiments of Mr. Naveed. However, I don't think it's very realistic. I think if you look at the from the 8th of October, what Israel has done is done complete genocide, infrastructure devastation, and the objectives are to ethnic cleansing, to raise Gaza to the ground, and then implement the gas pipeline, which is called IMEC. So do you really think that all these countries are going to come together and they're going to strong arm Israel, including USA, to come to a peace? This is not a ceasefire. It's just a pause in the current skirmish, in the conflict. We've not even entered a war yet. I can't see peace. All you have to do is go to the Israeli parliament, look at Mossad, and look at every Israeli high-ranking official. What are their statements? They don't want peace. They had to do a small pause in the war for many, many reasons. Number one, they were getting slaughtered inside of Gaza. The urban warfare was very tough. There is many axes. Well, 2 axes from the north, they've captured the Gaza coastline. If there is a ceasefire and a peace, then why is the IDF still remaining where they are? There's snipers and shooters. You find the Gazans are returning to the north. They're not going in the south. They're not scared. They are not lulled. They are returning to the north. So the snipers are still there. So as soon as this small pause is finished, straight away the war will start. And I can see a protracted war within the Middle East, and maybe unintended consequences, someone's mistake, this will be a wider war. I cannot see China, Russia, anyone putting pressure and having a permanent ceasefire, because the only way to do this right now is a permanent solution for the state of Israel. Is the world ready for this? I don't think so.
All right. Naveed, is the world ready for this? Is the world ready for a ceasefire, some kind of a two-state solution? Is the world ready to pressurize Israel so that it does the needful? Because I understand that Israel is in a complete mood to annihilate, as has been said in various statements, the Palestinians from Gaza and then occupy Gaza completely and then install the Israelis there. What and how can we move forward from here?
This is a good opportunity because we are now in the phase of that truce. More 24 hours or 48 hours are very important for Palestine. Within this small period, the world need to move quickly to find that solution permanently, because if the world kept on kept itself away from the situation, I don't think this truce will work more than this just supply of the goods. I think from this situation, America, Great Britain, Saudi Arabia, Iran, Egypt, Qatar, China, Russia need to move very quickly and convince Israeli authorities to stop that war, which has now, destroyed everything in Palestine. So the truce is not the solution. The permanent ceasefire is the only solution, and then when the solution will be achieved after negotiations, I think it will be a great success. And I'm very much optimistic that 4 days of truce and then 2 days extension, if this situation is materialized or it is made possible, the things will be better in Middle East.
All right. Reza, coming to you, I'd like to understand the role of Qatar. We know that Qatar has been instrumental as far as this humanitarian pause or truce between both the sides is concerned. It has been extended for 48 hours, and Qatar is trying to further extend it beyond 48 hours. At the same time, I'd like to quote Majid Al-Ansari, the Qatari Foreign Ministry spokesperson, who says Israel was the toughest party in the negotiation process. When Antonio Guterres says Palestinians are enduring one of the darkest chapters of their history, do you feel this extended truce, or maybe even if it goes beyond the 48 hours, will serve some kind of purpose for finding a solution, or do you continue to remain pessimistic?
I'll remain pessimistic. If you look at from the Israeli point of view, if there is a permanent truce now, how do they achieve their objectives post 7th of October? From the whole world right now, they are being called genociders, baby killers. Okay, they've raised Gaza, and the Palestinians, what they want, if there is a permanent truce, okay, they want certain rights and concessions with that. I don't think the Israelis will give. It's going to be a very hard pill for them to swallow. For example, there are over 10,000 Palestinians who are in the prisons, whether they are from West Bank or they're from Gaza. And they have to release all of them. This is a precondition of the Palestinians. We will not negotiate with you unless all the prisoners will be released. Then we will release the IDF soldiers. This will grant a big victory for the Palestinians. Do you think the Israelis will come down? So right now, if you look at the situation, it doesn't suit the Israelis to have a permanent ceasefire. They don't hold the cards. So if there is a permanent ceasefire now, yes, the Palestinians, the axis of resistance, it suits their position. Yes, it does. If there's a long war of attrition, it doesn't even suit Israel. Israel at the moment does not hold the cards. I even said this in the last show. There's only going to be a pause because it's a PR stunt. US is now self-grandizing, self-congratulating itself because it needs to. Biden is going into election cycle next year. His ratings are very low. They need to be seen. Now, coming back to the GCC and the Qataris. Remember, interlocutors or intermediaries are never the one who hold the decisions. They've been advised from who? Iran, the axis of resistance, Saudi Arabia, because Qatar is seen as the neutral party, okay, within the Middle East that you can speak to. In Doha, there are many, many political groups there as well, and it's a hub for people to come and to do a dialogue. So it's not necessarily the Qataris hold the cards. They're just interlocutors. So I don't know why there's so much hope with them or the actual Egyptians. You have to see if the cards are held with US, Israel, and the axis of resistance. These are your major players. Everyone else is mere observers applying their own pressures for their own agendas. Now, I'd like to point out, when you say two-state solution, has anyone looked at the map of Israel, West Bank, and Gaza? You tell me, since 1967, how many illegal settlements have taken place? Even in the northern Israel right now, 70,000 settlements have now been, I want to say wiped off, but they've all gone away and gone to Israel. How can you, with the current maps that you have, how can you negotiate? How can the parties with the different agendas come together and do a two-state solution, which is in the favor of the Palestinians? I would like to call upon all analysts to come and sit down. The two-state solution that is being brokered and backed by the Chinese and Russians, it's just not realistic. Ask the Palestinians. The solution is with them. What do they want? No one can tell one person when they've been subjugated, occupied, their mothers and children have been killed, I have the solution for you. No, the solution is theirs. They have to decide what they want for their own state. So going back to your question, I'm pessimistic on the truce. This is a pure PR stunt from the West. And you can see a big war of attrition coming forward, and I can see a wider conflict ensuing.
All right, Naveed, Aman, when it comes to the situation as has been pointed by Reza, he has his own perspective. In your point of view, I'll forward the answer that he had for me. Who holds the cards in your points of view? In your point of view, and if so, when Reza points to the people of Palestine who have the ultimate solution to this issue, what in your point of view is the ultimate solution to this problem, so that where people can start living their lives normally, can have a healthy lifestyle, and can live in the lands that belong to them?
It is true that peace doesn't suit to Israel or doesn't suit to America, in Middle East in particular. And America or Israel have always been destroying peace of Middle Eastern countries. But keep in mind that good relationship between Iran and Saudi Arabia even didn't suit to America and didn't suit to Israel. But the successful mediation of China made it possible, and China was very much came in the Middle Eastern politics and was very much influential in Middle Eastern politics. Once again, the things have changed after October 7. Now, China was in Middle Eastern region. Now, America has again come in the Middle Eastern region, and Chinese position is a bit weaker in Middle Eastern countries right now as compared to the American position. But China is more, vibrant and more enthusiastic or more active to bring peace in the region as compared to the American efforts. Endorsed by the Russian authorities or Qatar or Middle Eastern countries, all are with China and Russia. The only 3-4 countries like America, Israel or UK, France or Germany are not in favor of it. But the better, the earlier the better. The peace will have to be brought in the region, and the better it should become. It should be brought earlier. If it is not brought at this stage, I don't think the issue will be summed up.
All right. Final question to you, Reza. Let's talk of the immediate needs of the people in Gaza, and one of those is the humanitarian aid. Now, you were talking of the US. The US is sending 3 military aircrafts to Egypt to bring vital humanitarian aids for civilians in Gaza. Several tons of aid have also been delivered to northern Gaza. This has been confirmed by OCHA, which is a United Nations organization, but it is being said that Gaza needs 1,000 aid trucks daily. This has been said by the government media office in Gaza, which says that the Gaza Strip needs 1,000 aid trucks, hundreds of fuel tanks over the period of weeks, need for civil defense equipment, machines and medical services. They say the health sector has completely collapsed. They say the truce revealed the massive extent of destruction, especially in Gaza City and the northern Gaza Strip. The wheel of life, they say, has stopped in Gaza. How important is humanitarian aid? How important is the restoration of normal services in Gaza? Is this the priority? Is the truce a priority? Is the two-state solution a priority? And if so, if all are priorities, what should be the order of these priorities?
Very loaded question, Omar here. Priority, what is the priority? It's such a complex situation. There are so many calculations, so many parties with so many agendas. Let's ask the Palestinians, what is your priority? I think this is the question. Forget the Chinese and the Russians, Israelis. Palestinians, What do you want now? So right now, yes, immediately, and you can see within their own negotiations, when the Qataris negotiated with the US with this, you can see the Palestinian side, what they wanted, yes? Rafah crossing to open, humanitarian aid, medical equipment, and fuel for the hospitals, yes? This was the immediately short-term win. So yes, this is the priority, okay? I would like to address one more thing. There's a big elephant in the room, and if you allow me here, India is a big player in this. When you say IMEC, it's India, Middle East corridor. So you go India, you go Dubai, then it goes to Saudi Arabia, then it goes to Jordan, and this comes out of Israel, Gaza. Please don't miss this. This is very important. This is a big geopolitical game. This is the war of interconnectivity, inter-regional corridor wars. CPEC is in our countries. One Belt, One Road, INSTC, which is run by Russia, international North-South corridor, and then you have IMEC. Remember this. This war is to do with the regional corridor wars. This is a new hybrid war that's been played out in the modern 21st century. Very important, otherwise we'll miss everything in the calculations. So when you say priorities, yes. If you allow me just to finish, just to conclude, the priorities have to be calculated in this remit, in this framework. Then we'll understand what the Palestinian needs, what the objectives of the US, Israel, China, Russia, and whoever is a party to this.
All right, Reza, thank you very much. Reza Shah, international relations expert, giving us his opinion as far as this conflict between Israel and Palestine is concerned. Last question to you as well, Naveed, Aman Saab. Israeli forces have destroyed many landmarks in Gaza, very important landmarks. Culturally, the place has been completely razed, more or less. At the same time, the Committee to Protect Journalists also confirms that the 57 journalists have been killed and media workers have been killed since the start of this war between Israel and Palestine. This includes 50 Palestinians, 4 Israelis, 3 Lebanese, 19 journalists have also been arrested. There is no regard whatsoever for humanity or human rights. At the moment, there's just a truce, there's just a pause, which could be extended for how long? What should be the priorities of the world, of the countries that are concerned directly and indirectly, those that want to have a long-lasting solution in Palestine?
At this stage, when we are experiencing that truce for 4 days and then extended by 2 days, I think this is a very good opportunity for the entire world to enhance that period once again for more days of truce, so that the solution be sought for the region. Within this time, it will be an opportunity for the regional players to negotiate with each other, or to influence Israel, or to even influence America for the peace in the region. Unless this is met, I think if the truce ends and attacks once again starts on Palestine, it will be a very, very a big tragedy in the region once again. So the better within this time of truce, the solution is met, or some some agreements are finalized, or some hope should be brought in the region. This is only possible when the stakeholders, the Palestinians and the Israelis, should be brought on one negotiation table. And this is not impossible, this is very much possible. They are neighbors, and they will have to live there. Both nations will have to live there, and they need to live very peacefully, and this peace should be brought and will be brought, the better the earlier.
All right, the earlier the better. I think that is the importance of this this conflict that has emanated since the 7th of October, but has been going on since decades, since 1948. And the fact also is that, as you said, it's now or never, because this is the time when concrete steps need to be taken.
This truce time is very important for them.
And also post the truce,
it will give face saving to both of the nations.
but also, you know, concrete measures need to be implemented in this time period and after this time period, so that we don't see a continuity of what has been happening since the 7th of October. Thank you very much, Naveed, Aman Khan Sahab, to have joined us to have discussed the Israeli-Palestine conflict that has entered its 53rd day. Let's come to our last two stories very quickly. The first concerns Pakistan. Now, this comes on a positive note, which has been, as per a website called World Statistics, the cheapest country in the world. The low cost of living necessities in Pakistan, utility items, housing, including rent, daily necessities, food and purchasing power of local people, as per this website, have made Pakistan the cheapest country in the world. Also earlier in March of 2023, Numbeo.com, the world's largest database, had also declared Pakistan as the cheapest country to live in the world. Pakistan, as per that report, is one of the countries whose residents have better facilities of life despite the economic difficulties. The economic situation also is showing signs of further improvement. Getting $3 billion US standby arrangement from the IMF is also one of the implications that is leading towards a strengthening of Pakistan's economic situation. The report also says that Pakistan has achieved substantial growth in various sectors, as well as receiving IT and foreign investment. Remittances, stock exchange and exports have seen positive trends in the last 2 years. That is why Pakistan is considered, as per this website, to be the cheapest country to live in the world. Finally, a new record has been set at the PSX, where the KSC 100 index has gone to uncharted territories beyond 60,000. It was hovering at 60,715.4, which is an increase of 904.06 points, or 1.51%. On Monday also, the bourse had continued to set new records, as the benchmark index further had gained 1.23% to settle at 59,811, but now it has crossed the 60,000 mark. The Pakistani rupee has also registered a slight gain against the US dollar, and we see the positive indicators as far as Pakistan's economy is concerned, and a lot of it is attributed to the Pakistan IMF deal, as well as other decisions that the current government has taken. So things going in the right direction. Let's hope the current momentum stays. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, we come to an end of today's news, and we'll see you inshallah tomorrow with new story segments that pertain to us, you and Pakistan. Stay safe. Allah Hafiz.